What if you went to bed in a quiet 1980s suburban neighborhood and woke up to a Tyrannosaurus Rex stomping through your front yard? Crazy, right? Well, David Robert Mitchell's movie, The End of Oak Street, takes that exact nightmare, mixes it with some mind-bending time travel, and turns it into one of the wildest sci-fi thrillers we've seen in years. If you just walked out of the theater staring at the screen thinking, wait, how did they pull off that time loop? Or are dinosaurs just hanging out in the 80s now? Don't worry, I've got you covered. Today, we are breaking down the ending of The End of Oak Street, explaining how the film's unique time travel actually works, and figuring out what all of this means for the Platt family. Oh, and quick heads up, major spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, go check it out first and come right back. The setup, secrets, suburbia, and prehistoric plants. Before we dive headfirst into the sci-fi craziness, we have to talk about where this story begins. On the surface, the Platt family looks like your picture-perfect, middle-class 1980s suburban family. You've got Denise, played by Anne Hathaway, and her husband Greg, played by Ewan McGregor. They've got 2 kids, Audrey and Brian, and a sweet dog named Starbuck. It feels like classic Steven Spielberg territory. Think E.T. or Close Encounters, with kids on bicycles, summer block parties, and white picket fences. But beneath that sunny filter, the family is actually falling apart. Denise is secretly planning a divorce and writing a novel, while Greg lost his job and is secretly delivering pizzas at night because he's too ashamed to tell her. So, before any dinosaurs even show up, the Platt home is already a ticking time bomb. Then, the weird stuff starts happening. It starts small. Denise notices a strange, alien-looking plant growing in her neighbor's yard at an impossible speed. She snaps a Polaroid of it, takes it to the local library, and the librarian drops a bombshell. That plant isn't from around here. In fact, it hasn't existed on Earth for over 200 million years. At the same time, young Brian starts seeing these weird, blinding flashes of light in the night sky. Everyone else just writes them off as a sudden thunderstorm. But as the flashes, or tremors, get bigger and more frequent, the unthinkable happens. The entire neighborhood of Oak Street is ripped right out of 1982 and dumped millions of years into the past.
Lights from a helicopter.
Or a UFO. Aliens.
How does the time travel actually work? So, how does a whole neighborhood get dropped into the Cretaceous period without a machine, a DeLorean, or some mad scientist pushing buttons? Unlike a lot of sci-fi movies that spend 30 minutes dumping exposition on you about quantum physics, The End of Oak Street keeps things surprisingly grounded in theoretical science. Early in the film, there's a quick news report playing in the background about NASA investigating temporal anomalies. Later on, Audrey, who is obsessed with Carl Sagan, realizes that those bright flashes of light weren't lightning at all. They were wormholes. Now, think of a wormhole like a fold in a piece of paper. If 1982 is on one side of the paper and 200 million years ago is on the other, a wormhole bends space and time so those 2 points touch. And here's the interesting part. The physics in the film are actually rooted in real-world concepts. Back in the 20th century, physicists like Kip Thorne and Michael Morris, building off Albert Einstein's work, proved that traversable wormholes are theoretically possible under general relativity. In the world of the movie, a massive, naturally occurring temporal storm creates localized wormholes across Oak Street. First, the wormholes are tiny, just big enough to let microscopic spores and plant seeds cross over, which is why those prehistoric plants start sprouting in suburban gardens. But as the temporal storm peaks, a massive wormhole opens up and creates a huge blast radius. Anything inside that radius gets swallowed up and deposited in prehistoric times. And that brings us to the survival nightmare. The prehistoric nightmare and Greg's sacrifice. Once Oak Street lands in the past, the movie turns into a full-on survival horror flick. The suburban streets are surrounded by dense, ancient jungle, and dinosaurs, from packs of raptors to giant carnivores, begin hunting the neighbors right out of their front yards. The Platt family spends most of the movie trying to keep each other alive while working through their internal drama. And just when it seems like they might find a way to stick together, disaster strikes. Greg, played by Ewan McGregor, gets ambushed by a massive T-Rex. In a brutal and devastating moment, he gets eaten right in front of his family. It feels like a total point of no return, right? You think, okay, McGregor is out of the movie, and now Denise has to save her kids alone. But The End of Oak Street has one more massive trick up its sleeve. The ending explained, the the loop and Denise's rescue. While mourning Greg and fleeing for their lives, Denise and the kids discover another active tremor portal hidden in the woods. Realizing it's their only chance, they take a leap of faith and jump right through the glowing anomaly. And where do they end up? They pop back out in 1982. Specifically, 20 minutes before the big wormhole hit Oak Street in the first place. This is where Denise becomes an absolute powerhouse. She realizes she has a narrow 20-minute window to alter the timeline and save her family. First order of business: save Greg. Because Greg was out delivering pizzas when the event started, he was originally driving into the blast radius right as the wormhole opened. Denise immediately grabs a phone and calls him, telling him to meet her at a distant bus stop outside of town. By redirecting his pizza route, she pulls him completely out of the neighborhood's temporal blast zone. When Greg arrives at the bus stop, he's safe, confused, and reunited with Denise and the kids, who hug him like they haven't seen him in years, because to them, they almost lost him forever. Did everyone else survive? So, what about the rest of Oak Street? Did Denise save the whole neighborhood? Well, not everybody, but she definitely altered history for several key people. During the film's closing news broadcast, we see that Denise didn't just call her husband. She also called up people in the neighborhood to warn them. We see an interview with Mrs. Valcourt, the local librarian, thanking Denise on live television for warning her to leave her house before the light appeared. Even the Platt family's jerk neighbor gives an interview admitting that he owes Denise his life. However, the news anchor still refers to the event on Oak Street as a massive disaster and tragedy. That confirms that while Denise saved her family and a few neighbors who listened to her warnings, many people on the street were still taken into the past when the main wormhole collapsed. Dinosaurs in the 1980s. What comes next? Here's the most fascinating takeaway from the ending. Wormholes are a two-way street. While half of Oak Street was pulled millions of years into the past, whatever was in that exact location in prehistoric times got swapped into 1982. The final news broadcast reveals that when the wormhole closed, several dinosaurs were transported directly into the 1980s. While police and military forces neutralized the immediate threats, scientists managed to capture several live specimens for research. Think about what that means for this universe. Instead of dinosaurs staying trapped in the past or confined to an island like Jurassic Park, prehistoric creatures are now officially part of 1980s Earth. Scientists are studying them, the government is trying to contain them, and the world just got a whole lot stranger. It sets up an incredible premise for a potential sequel. Imagine a follow-up movie set in the mid-80s where humanity is trying to coexist with dinosaurs that slip through temporal rifts around the world. The bigger theme: survival and secrets. Beyond the dinosaurs and wormholes, director David Robert Mitchell is ultimately telling a story about family. At the start of the movie, the Platts' marriage is torn apart by secrets. Denise hiding her desire to leave, Greg hiding his lost job. The apocalypse literally rips their world apart, but facing literal monsters forces them to confront the metaphorical monsters in their relationship. By going back in time to save Greg, Denise chooses her family, and Greg's willingness to risk everything for his kids proves his dedication. The destruction of Oak Street was the end of their quiet suburban life, but it was also the fresh start their family desperately needed. Our nerdy thoughts. So, to wrap it all up, the end of Oak Street uses theoretical wormholes to trap a 1982 neighborhood in prehistoric times, but through a second rift, Denise manages to loop back 20 minutes in time, save her husband, rescue her neighbors, and reset her family's future. What did you think of the end of Oak Street? Did you love the 1980s horror vibe, or were you hoping for a different twist at the end? And more importantly, would you want to see a sequel set in a dino-infested 1980s? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more movie explainers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Need you to worry for me, 'cause I'm all right. No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.